Today we're making apple butter, which contains apples, but no actual butter. Aww. This is great spread on toast, added to baked goods, or even topping ice cream. Let's go.
Of course, we're going to start with our apples. You want a baking apple, so any of these will work, but really, it's your butter, so use whichever apples make your heart sing. Fortunately for us, we do not need to peel these, so after a quick rinse, we can get right to chopping. If you have something nifty to chop with like this, go ahead, but if you're light on apple-specific kitchenware, you can just use a knife, which is actually what I use for most of the apples because it just works better. Cut around the core like this, then cut the pieces down to about 1-inch chunks. This is 8 large apples, which is about 4 pounds. Once you're done with that, you can add your spices. I'm going with the classic fall notes of some clove, allspice, freshly grated nutmeg, and cinnamon sticks. If you don't have sticks, you can just use ground cinnamon. That will be included in the exact ingredient amounts in the description below. Now we'll add a little sugar, about 3/4 cup, which is more than a little, but we're going to call it a little so we feel better about eating it later. Give that a nice mix and then realize you forgot the salt, so add that before covering and cooking these down on medium heat until they look like this, which took about 40 minutes for me. We want the water to be drawn out and bubbling, and the apples to be nice and squishy.
Squish that cat. Squish that cat.
Now is the time to blend, though before you do that, remove your cinnamon sticks. Those can be added back before this goes into the oven. You're free to use an immersion blender if you have one, but I ended up using my regular blender because I wanted this to get ultra smooth. And it did. See? Look at that. So smooth. Now we are headed to caramelization station. This is getting cooked low and slow in the oven like your grandma's brisket. We're going to put this into a preheated 250-degree oven, uncovered, for anywhere between 2 to 5 hours, stirring every 45 minutes or so. Now, I know that sounds like a pretty wide range of time, which it is, but it really depends on one major factor, which is what level of caramelization and texture you want for your apple butter. If you want something that is a little bit darker than applesauce, but still very soft and spreadable, go with the 2 hours. If you want something that's much darker, go for longer, up to 5, but know that when it cools, you're going to have a texture closer to cold butter, so you may have to heat it up to get it to spread the way you want it. Now, I know what you might be thinking, that this darker apple butter looks a little tougher to work with, which, you're right, it is. But the deep caramelization and ultra concentrated apple flavor that it gets is like nothing you've ever tasted, and way better than anything you might get at the store. This can be kept in a jar in your fridge for up to a month. I mean, it won't last longer than that anyways, it's so delicious. But if it somehow does, you can just cube it and freeze for appley goodness year-round. That's it for today. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time.